Hi everyone, welcome to today's episode of Community Conversations. This week I have the opportunity to speak with Chris Jasinski, Marketing Director from Brick, based out of Boston with headquarters in Oakland, California. I first met Chris at SMPS's Northeast Regional Conference in upstate New York at Lake George. It was a great opportunity to learn more about him and his firm, plus we had the opportunity to drive back from Lake George to Albany, where he dropped me off at the airport. Building relationships like that is what I love about this work, and I'm excited to share my conversation with Chris. I hope you enjoy. Well, good afternoon, Chris. It's great to see you today. Thanks so much for being a guest on Community Conversations.
Thanks for having me, Troy. It's good to catch up. So looking forward to it.
For those who haven't had a chance to meet you yet, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this journey of marketing in the AEC world.
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio, as Troy, you and I talked about on our car drive. So I moved to Rhode Island in 2018, and all prior to that, I was in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where I'm from. I went to school outside in Western Ohio, and I was in school for communications, marketing. And then going into my senior year, I added interior design as a degree. So I got 2 bachelor's degrees, and all my friends and my family are like, why are you doing this? And why are you adding another degree? You could just graduate in a few months. And I said, I would rather be at school for another 3 years doing something that I really wanted to do rather than being miserable for the rest of my life doing something I don't want to do. 3 years in the grand scheme of things is nothing compared to the next, 40, 50, 60 years. So after graduating, I graduated, so then pushed me back 3 years. I graduated in 2010 with 2 degrees and met this woman, Kim Fleischman. Her father, Richard Fleischman, founded a firm in Cleveland in the 50s. He was in his 80s at the time, but like super passionate about architecture, design. It was an incredible first job. I mean, I couldn't dream of a better first experience to work and get my feet wet in this industry. So I met with them, met with the principals, and they really liked that I had a communications degree. They liked that I had an interior design degree, that I could help on a variety of fronts. But while I was there, I really started noticing the storytelling aspect of what we do. How do we talk about projects? How do we tell Richard's story as a founding principal? How do we tell the story of the other principals that were younger in the firm? So that's really where I just started focusing on in my career. And I eventually became marketing director there at Richard's office. And then I left to go to a larger corporate interiors headquarters architecture firm called Vocon. They do a lot of really great work. So it went from a 14 person firm to now a 200 person firm, and with just a whole variety of different stories to tell and different things. And then in 2018, I moved to Rhode Island and worked for a great firm called Union and was their marketing director. And again, throughout my career, I've just kind of connected with places that have stories to tell. And Union was much different than Vocon. It was a smaller firm, about 30 people. They do a lot of community design, really quality housing, affordable housing, market rate. And so the thing that I've carried through all of my careers is everybody has their own unique story to tell. And I don't personally have a preference of what that story is. I just like finding that story and telling it. So throughout my career, I've gone into art directing for photography, for photo shoots, really, how do we visually tell this story, that all this incredible work that goes into these projects? What does that look like? Creating videos and branded content that way, and graphics. And so that's where I'm at. I feel like I've kind of carved my own path than most traditional marketing professionals in our industry. But I couldn't be happier with making that decision to kind of find my own way, I guess, in this industry.
Well, that's outstanding. And in this realm, I'm sure there is always a process of wearing multiple hats and having to do different parts of the marketing experience.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let me ask a question in terms of SMPS. What was your intersection to SMPS? How did you find that organization, and what drew you to becoming a member there?
Yeah, so actually, I was never involved or a member of SMPS until starting at Brick about almost 2 years ago. When in Cleveland, I was on the board for AIA Cleveland. I was our communications chair. And then moving to Rhode Island, I got involved and still am involved with the ACE Mentor Program. So SMPS, and I think it was part that the Cleveland, chapter, the AIA chapter was just super active. We were always like collaborating with different organizations, having speakers, different things. So at the time, it was just a better fit for me and the firms I was at. So then when I joined BRIC, a whole new office, new city. They're based in Oakland, California. And it's like, what better way to just connect with others in our industry, even to find potential partners to pursue projects together. So I've always tried to think of a dream team approach. Like, you're really good at this, we're good at this. Let's combine our efforts instead of, one or the other. Because then, it's a great way to work together with good people. So I thought SMPS was a great way to do that. And so it's been great. I've met a lot of really awesome people that we pursue projects with, people I get coffee with on a regular basis and help talk about things in their career and my career. So it's been awesome.
That is the experience I found with SMPS as well. It's just a tremendous opportunity for folks to network together, to have an experience of camaraderie and really genuinely giving to each other. There's not necessarily a competitive feel that I experience. It's more so, oh, you and I are in the same boat. Let's talk about that and how do we elevate ourselves, continue to move forward.
Yeah. I mean, even in the same discipline, like I get coffee or drinks with people that are marketing directors at other architecture firms. And it's just like, I think if we can elevate the whole industry, not even just the marketing role in our industry and elevate that together, but the whole architecture, construction, engineering industry, I think it's great. Like, I think you couldn't be better.
One of the things that I really appreciated about our conversation, not only when we were in New York, but continued conversations outside of that experience, is your commitment to community. And tell us a little bit about the ACE program, what it is, and what your role is in it, and what you're trying to accomplish in the Rhode Island area.
Yeah. So the ACE Mentor Program, it's a national program. There's affiliates all across the country. So just like SMPS has affiliates or AIA. So I'm the chair of the Rhode Island affiliate. So we cover all of Rhode Island. We even have a location slightly over the border in Massachusetts. But so ACE, we really want to educate and inspire high school students to go into architecture, construction, engineering. That's what ACE stands for. But we're also really making a lot of progress towards getting students to go into the trades. And so it's everything that you can imagine, even landscape architecture, everything that goes into these projects and throughout the country that we all work on in our industry. That's what we want to educate students about. And we focus really on schools and students in areas that don't have programs like this. So I know the high school I went to, we didn't have any kind of architecture program or any design or engineering program or trades. It would have been awesome. I think we probably would have had a lot more students. So we focus on, those areas, and we're just looking to grow it every year. So I became chair in July. I was vice chair prior to that, and then a board member prior to that. And I would say this is a really exciting time for ACE Rhode Island. We're doing a lot of new things that we haven't done before. I like to take risks, and not like calculated risks, like knowing things that we think will have a big impact. So let's try it. I'd rather, we're doing a monthly networking event. Our next one is actually tonight. And it's open to anybody throughout all of New England. We've had people come from Connecticut, from Massachusetts, and I think Rhode Island is a tight-knit community, so it's been really successful. So we just rolled out a new fundraising package. We're providing more opportunities for communities, organizations to partner with us, for firms to partner, individuals to volunteer their time. So we're kind of taking the mission of ACE and also trying to elevate the industry as a whole, because if we want to diversify our industry, there's really no better way to do that than starting in high school. You can't magically make the industry more well-rounded and diverse just out of nowhere. Like, you need to start educating students. I mean, honestly, it'd be great to have like grade school, programs to get people excited about that too. So I can't be more thrilled with our current board of directors, and we have a great advisory council that's led by a lot of the principals of, Dimeo Construction, Shawmut, Gilbane, a lot of local architecture firms here in Rhode Island. So it's probably one of the most rewarding things I've done in my career, I would say. And I feel like we're really just getting started. It almost feels like it's been a lot of planning. We're like rebuilding the structure, if you will. So I'm thrilled for what's coming up this year and, beyond that. So.
Well, that's exciting. And I've seen some of the work you've done, some of the fundraising events, some of the activity that you've done online and posted on LinkedIn, and a very active member of that organization. I see you in and your commitment to it. Share a little bit about what the students get out of the process. Walk me through a process so I can kind of think about how a high school student might first come in touch with them and ultimately to, pursuing a career.
Yeah. So it's, as I said, it's geared towards high school students, and it could be any year, freshman through senior year. We've had students that just moved to Rhode Island and find out about the program. So we really welcome anybody. And then we have two different programs in Rhode Island. We have a first year program and we have an advanced program. And so the difference is ACE National has a national competition that they have student affiliate groups kind of compete against each other on. And so that's what our advanced group does. They've already done ACE for at least a year. So now they're doing this national competition. And it really is they give a prompt and they give a site, and our student groups led by mentors, they work on that and they submit it to national for this competition. So I believe this past year was a like housing and community resources and just for people over the border by Mexico and the US. And so I was thinking of like safe housing resources for helping with paperwork, playgrounds, areas for kids and stuff. So I thought our group did a really good job with thinking about that. And the national program gives like 2 to 3 prompts. So we let the students pick what they want to do. So it's not, oh, this professional thinks that we should do this. We really want to empower the students to make their decision and put their stamp on it, because that's what they're going to have to do when they go into the trades or college program. Our first year program, we're modifying it to really mimic that kind of model. We want to do now a local project. So this coming year, we're going to try doing something here in Rhode Island, give student groups at all the different schools that we have students at, give them a prompt, and it could be, we're still working on it, our curriculum committee's working on it, but it could be a community center, it could be affordable housing, a public green space, and we're going to rotate it every year to make people excited about it and kind of engage them. But then after that, and after they are graduating their senior year, what they get out of it is that we offer summer externships to firms, local firms. We actually, I think 2 years ago, we led ACE all affiliates with how many students we placed at internships. We had, I think, 12 different firms host interns there, which was great. And then we also give scholarships to, their college or help them go into the trades. So last year, a student got an ACE National scholarship and she got a full ride to the university she was going to. So she actually gave her Rhode Island scholarship back to the other students. So she was going to get $7,000 from us, and she gave $1,000 each to every other student that was there. So that was like absolutely awesome to see. And this year we had another national scholarship winner win $10,000. So it's really great. And I mean, and then we now also have launched an alumni committee, which to me is probably one of the most important things that we could be doing, is still not just say, hey, here's your scholarship, thanks for participating, but how do we continue that mentorship while they're in college? So we're going to try to roll out a one-on-one mentoring for students in college and a professional. We want to kind of start a buddy system, maybe for like, hey, I was an ACE and I'm an incoming freshman, you're a junior at this school, what teachers or studio should I take, or just go get lunch together. So we're trying to facilitate some of that. We want to start doing portfolio reviews and firm visits. So our alumni committee chair, she works at Gilbane on the development side. She's doing an incredible job with that. She's a new board member, new committee. And that's really, I think, what I'm trying to instill with our ACE affiliate, is empowering all of our board members to empower all the students, like trusting people to kind of push things along. So yeah, a lot of really exciting stuff for ACE, and we've seen a lot of success with a lot of the students that we've had recently. So
that's great. That's great. And if people are interested in learning more about ACE at the Rhode Island level and then ACE on a national level, what are their websites, or how can they find that information?
Yeah, so our website for Rhode Island is acementorri.org, and I believe, and I can confirm this.
That's fine. And then you can do the second part.
is, I believe it's just acementor.org is the national affiliate. So, but yeah, and then you can go on there and read all about it. There's affiliates. So if you're in Chicago, if you're in California, Ohio, there's affiliates all over, and you can go on the national website and find an affiliate near you. Yeah, it's acementor.org. And then there's a magenta box at the top right. It says find a program near you, and you'll be able to search wherever you are. So
excellent, excellent. One of the conversations I've been having a lot with marketing professionals most recently is this conversation around artificial intelligence and AI and how people are utilizing it within their firm. I'm curious for you, within you personally and within your circle there in New England, are people beginning to use AI, and what is your take on the future of AI and marketing?
Yeah. I love it. I have been using it. So I think I'll just say we collectively as an industry, we try to make things absolutely perfect, and that it's just not possible. So then it paralyzes you to get things done. And so something just like a simple LinkedIn post, or, it just won't happen because you're like, I don't like the way that sounds. But there's so much content, as you know, right? Like you're scrolling it at such a speed that you can no longer have that way of thinking almost to be competitive, if you will. So I found it super helpful to, our fundraising package that we just did for ACE. I put a lot of thoughts in, and then I come up with descriptors of like, have a personable tone and make this flow better, with the grammar. So I don't have to bother my wife anymore to read stuff because she's much smarter than I am. So she would always be like, why do you need me to, read that again or whatever? So I now use like AI to help kind of take my thoughts, give me something, and then I'll take that, because sometimes, as we all know, like based on the prompts it gives you, like if you were just to write perfectly for, sometimes that human voice tone is kind of removed from some of it. Sometimes it's not. So I always review it, obviously, and then make changes as needed, or add something to it, or it'll make me think of something that I didn't even think about before, and I'll kind of go from there. But I found it super helpful when it's writing copy for quick little descriptions and proposals, social media posts, presentations, all kinds of stuff. I think it's great. I think we need to use tools to our advantage rather than like say what's wrong with them. So
right.
So, and just take it for what.
Do you find what tools of choice are you using? Are you using Chat GPT? What additional ones are you using?
That's really it. I've been messing with like some of the like graphic generating ones a little bit, but like what is it, Dolly or something?
Yes,
which I haven't, like, I see what people produce out of it. I'm like, am I just not putting the right prompts in? Because I'm getting stuff that looks like Microsoft Word clip art or something. So yeah, I just mostly have used it for copywriting, just because it's the thing that seems to take the longest. And you're just trying to keep things simple and make, like, I always try to write towards everybody.
Yeah.
And I think in our industry, if you're an engineer, you tend to write towards and for other engineers, and architects definitely do that. And so as a marketing professional, that I have no preconceived knowledge of like how somebody's like education level is or what their understanding is. So I just try to write as simply and as clearly as possible. Because when you're pitching projects that, say you're building a library, they know libraries. They don't know mostly about architecture and design. So you can't speak in those terms. So that's my writing style. I know it's not for everybody, but I just try to keep it something that a conversation that you'd be having with a friend rather than well thought out things. So I usually use AI stuff mostly for copywriting right now, but I did do a portfolio review recently for Kent State Architecture School. One of my friends and old colleagues, he's an adjunct professor there. And so I did a portfolio review for 2 of his classes, and one of his students, I thought she did an incredible job with AI. She gave it prompts that she took as her almost guiding principles or design principles for her projects, and then put that into AI, and then put the image that, like, I think she used Midjourney, and put that image almost just as like an intro into the project. And then she put like what she wrote about and like why she designed this the way it was. And I just thought that was a great way to use AI, not to do the work, but to complement the work. And so I shared it with my office, and there was mixed feelings. Some people loved it. Some people were like, oh, this is like I don't know if I like this. And so I think that's good with anything, right? Like they say, art you need to appreciate. If you don't like have a feeling about art, is it really good? So I think AI is in that realm right now. Like some people love it, some people hate it, but I think it's an important conversation that people are having. So.
And as you think about Brick and the team that you work with there in Boston, of course you have the Oakland office as well. How big of a company is Brick? How many employees, and in both locations and collectively?
Yeah, collectively we're about 30. And so the majority of everyone is in Oakland. So there's 3 of us right now in Boston only. We have room for 10. So if anybody is looking to make a change, I know we're looking to hire some great people, but we have an awesome, like our team is, I say is like the best, some of the best architects and designers I've worked with. We have people that have worked for SOM, our founder. We have worked at SOM. We have people that worked at WeWork, all kinds of nationally and globally recognized firms. So it's a really great small team. And when I mid-size, I guess technically is, 30 people is mid-size, but the quality of projects that our team does, I'm always blown away. Like we have Monday meetings, like full staff meetings on Zoom. And I'm always blown away by what the team's working on. I think they're some of the most creative people I've had the chance to work with. So can't say enough good things about all of our team of architects and designers.
That's wonderful. Which brings me to my next question. As you're at industry events and as you're meeting and networking with people for the first time, how do you talk about yourself and how do you talk about what you do to people?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I tend to not talk about what I do when I talk with people. I obviously say like where I work, and I'll talk about, oh, I'm a marketing director, and we'll talk a little bit about the industry, but I really tend to try to connect with people on a personal level. I think, and not even doing it to be salesy or try to get something out of it. I really build relationships to actually, because I'm interested in what that person does, not because I want to get something out of it or I'm trying to get them to do something for me. And in a way, that's just how I've always been throughout my career. So, I met like a VP at CBRE at one of our ACE networking events. We talked about his daughter's reselling business online, like her like flipping items, and we talked about his sports card collection. And both of those things are things that I do. So we connected instantly. And then after we followed up, instantly set up a lunch, talked about a nonprofit he's interested in, talked about, work opportunities challenges he's seeing in the commercial real estate world in Rhode Island. And we just had a genuine conversation now that we have a real relationship now. So I can send him an email, give him a text. And so it's just, now it's a matter of like, hey, maybe we'll find a good thing to work on together because we actually like each other. And so that's how I talk about myself. I talk about me, what I do outside of just working in architecture. Because that's exactly how I met you and Dean,
Right, exactly.
I
find those natural conversations that allow just a genuine interest and curiosity in the other person is far more natural. Excuse me.
Yep.
It's far more natural than the idea of trying to do an elevator pitch in a short amount of time, especially in a big environment where you're working and meeting a lot of people simultaneously.
Yep.
But that being said, tell me a little bit more about the focus of your firm and who you help. When you go in and you work with clients, how are you helping them?
Yeah, so Brick does a variety of projects. I would say all your big markets that are very popular right now, are not popular right now, but like being built all over the country. So life science, mixed use, housing, affordable, higher ed. We do a lot of community colleges out in California, just like commercial stuff. We don't really do K through 12 education. We have people that have done that, and we don't do healthcare, hospitals, things like that. But really anything else, we're doing a big industrial project outside of Massachusetts, just like of fixing up the facade. It's So that was like a new thing. We haven't done like an industrial complex type of thing that needs to be restored, but we really do a variety of things. And I think our team, as I was kind of talking about earlier, being super talented, they're really thoughtful of how do we solve this problem for this company, whether it's life science or something that's newly just coming to the neighborhood, that a developer has this site and they want to, we know we want to do housing, but we also need to, put a community component down, on the ground level. So I just think we are really good thinkers of solutions and ideas. And so those are really the markets that we try to help, and, always looking to grow. It's not to say that one day we won't ever do K through 12 schools. I think our team and our principals would probably love to do stuff like that. But our focus right now is, that commercial, mixed use, affordable, market rate housing. Life science is huge, corporate headquarters, things like that. So.
And what's the definition of success for your team when you complete a project? What makes it? Is it because the door's open and you can walk in, or what defines a successful project?
This would be a good question for Rob, our CEO. I would define success, if you're asking me, as when you start the next project with that person. And that's a lot of our clients at Brick, our repeat clients. And I think, if something has been successful when they want you to do something else, or they share your name with somebody. Rob has built Brick based on a lot of relationships that, that developer, Brick, did their first project, and now it's their 10th project that they're doing together. So kind of growing together, I think, is also a sign of success. I think there is no better measure of success. I mean, obviously, happy employees, if it's an office space, is a clear benchmark. But, oftentimes firms aren't going around and meeting with them after, they're not going to meet with all the employees. A lot of times you're doing that on the front end through workplace strategy or something like that, and making sure, like, oh, what are the challenges you face as working? But I don't think firms spend enough time on the back end of that. And some do, obviously, but I would say the next project that you do together is a sign of success. A good example of how does that actually then translate into work? I think a lot of times companies will say, okay, you can go have 1 million coffee meetings, but how is this actually happening? I would say things take time. It's not, you're not going to post one thing on social media or go to one thing one time and meet somebody and they're like, hey, here's a $50 million project because I like that one thing I saw. However, the strength of connecting with people on a human level of who they really are is so important. I was at a ULI event in Boston, sitting at a table with a few other people. There's a developer, a couple people away. We just started talking, and we talked about his son going to Brown University. They live in Massachusetts, how he comes to Providence a lot. We were talking about our favorite restaurants to go to. I was giving him tips on, some great food spots, and then we just kept in contact. And then he said, hey, I have this industrial project in Massachusetts and we don't know what to do with it. And they have a bunch of other properties throughout Boston, and Massachusetts. And so I was like, yeah, I'd love to introduce you to our associate principal, Abigail. And so he came in, met with our team, we talked, but it was never hey, I'm going to send you a 50-page PDF about everything that we do. It was, I'm here if you have questions. I want to be a resource to you. And also I approach it as, if we're not the best person, he was just like, we need a structural engineer, to do something, and no architecture. Well, I know these, 4 structural engineering firms that are really great, and I'll connect you with them. So I think, again, the power of relationships and helping people in a genuine way, I can't talk about it enough. So.
That's wonderful. And when it's a genuine connection, you just want to help each other, regardless of whether it's your firm helping or whether you can be a bridge to connecting them to another source. Exactly. That's always the best way to make authentic connections. Tell me a little bit about how you would define your differentiator, your value proposition, if you will, for your firm that makes you stand out in these key markets that you do serve, but what makes you different than others of your size serving those markets?
Yeah, I would say it is, we have the design. And I mean, I always say there's tons of talented, amazing design firms out there, architecture, interiors, landscape, all that stuff. What our firm does really well, and Rob is awesome at talking about all of this, is understanding the needs of the developer. And I mean, even just sitting in meetings with him with developers, he connects with them and will use terms that when he says things, people are like, oh, that's a commercial real estate term, and he really understands that, and not just on I read one book one time to kind of understand it. He has understood that throughout building of brick, and so that is really instilled with our team to make sure that our designs not only look great, that they're solving the need or adding value to the project, and also to the developer taking the risk. It could be an affordable housing project that value is different than just strictly financial. Value is providing safe housing to people in need of that. And so understanding what is valuable to people, I would say, is Brick's differentiator. I have friends that work at firms all over, and they talk design first. And I think you need to understand the value needed or what the challenge is first. Not always, things aren't always about design. To me, it's a standard. It needs to look great, obviously. But it's like, what is this actually solving? Are people happy or coming to this office to work? Is the business wanting to grow by X, in whether it's size of employees or revenue, and how does the physical space add and complement that? I think that's just, I think it's an important thing that it would be great if they started teaching that in college programs, I think, because it's very design heavy and theory, and some of the portfolios, as I was mentioning, doing the review of, some of them were really great and thoughtful and talked about community needs. And then some of them were very out there theoretical. And I was like, I don't even know how this would translate to anything in the real world. So, but also not to take away people's imagination. I think you need to be creative. But I think that's something that Brick does really well, is thinking of all of those things and not just doing what we do and our style and just, hey, you called us, and so we really want to understand all of that stuff so we can add the most value to a project.
So if I'm hearing correctly, just to kind of repeat that back to you, the idea is that when, we'll use life science as an example. So when a life science project is in development, and they're looking to create a project, Brick comes in to really understand the value that's needed for that project on all levels. And in the end, the client walks away with an experience that not only is quality design, but really hits and solves the value issues that they needed to make sure that this is a quality project. Is that correct?
Yeah. So there's some examples, and I'll have to send you some drawings and things that we have of one of our recently completed projects. But there was a site in California, in Alameda, and it's now Exelixis is a life science company, and they have a few buildings all around, and there was this site that they had. And so we had presented them with a bunch of different options of, by adding this much, to a floor plate and looking at the site in this way, you can get X that aligns with what you're outlining in your business. So that's from the client side, but the building owner is a developer that Exelixis was a tenant. So we wanted to make sure that the developer would have a asset that they could, whether keep it or hold it. They ended up selling it for a extremely profitable amount. But we wanted to make sure that the tenant that will be going into that space and have a long-term lease with that owner would have their needs and their, what is valuable to them. So, I mean, that's how we approach every single project. How do you get the most out of what you're able to work with?
So one of my last questions for you is, what excites you about the upcoming year? What's next? What is the thing that you are most looking forward to in 2023 and into 2024?
So I would say it's a good question. I would say the two top of mind things I have three things. One, I think I would love to just keep continuing to build Brick here in Boston. Part of the reason I joined them was because I, again, like new opportunities that aren't just, oh, come, do pursuits at this firm or whatever. Like, this is really an exciting opportunity for me in my career to help establish a presence on a whole opposite end of the country. They're known getting calls all the time about projects, going to look at sites in California, all throughout the state. And here we're really starting, fresh for the past, year and a half, 2 years. So that I'm excited about because I think we have a lot of really good energy. Our team here is getting involved with a variety of different organizations. And just building, again, relationships. So we're going all in on that. I'm really excited for what we're doing with ACE. I think that is, I'm more like, I feel fulfilled in a way that I probably haven't been being involved with AIA back in Cleveland. When you can help people in need, and that, rather than just another professional, that's, been in the industry for 20 years, like, it's great to be connected to your professional organizations, but if you can help develop that next generation of people going into our industry, I just find that to be really rewarding. So I'm super excited for what we're building with ACE Rhode Island. And then myself personally, I'm just excited I always want to be learning. I'm always like buying audio books or actual physical. I have so many books that I haven't read yet that I'm like behind on. I'm a person that I want to keep adding another skill set to what I do, or knowledge, or anything like that. I'm not a person that gets complacent with anything. I'm always looking for what else can be done, not what can't be done, or that would be really hard to do. Like, all right, well, let's figure this out and try to, make some progress on whatever our goal is. So those are kind of three top of mind things that I'm really excited about as we're into 2023.
Excellent. My last question for you is one about reading, about books. Since you're an avid reader and you love to learn, what are one or two books that you highly recommend to other marketing or business development professionals in this industry?
Yeah, there's one I'm reading now. It's called The Business of Expertise by David Baker. It's called The Business of Expertise, and it was recommended to me by a guy that I know that owns a creative agency in Cleveland. And he's built an incredible agency there. And it really is focusing on, like, what is your expertise, and building a business off of that, or building your career off of that. And so that's one thing I've been loving it so far. I'll give a pop culture reference to one. Ryan Serhant from $1 Million Listing on Bravo. He has a couple books out. His newer one that came out last year is called Big Money Energy, and it is about presenting yourself in a way that aligns with where you want to go in your career, not being, phony and all this stuff. But when you look at some people that you look at, whether I'm taking the train or I'm walking around the streets of Boston or whatever, you see people that just command a presence kind of when they're in a room. And I think that's something I think anybody could probably learn from. I know sometimes if I don't know, surprisingly or not, some people are always like, oh no, you're not like that. But like, if I don't really know people, I kind of do get into a, shell or comfort level, if you will. So I'm always, again, how can I, connect with people more or better or something like that. So those are two books that I've been reading. There's another one. It's like The Art of One or something, or it's called The One Thing, I believe. And I can give you a list of all the stuff. Sure. And it's about focusing on one thing, like doing one thing really well, and then like moving on to another thing, or just going all in on that one thing. So I haven't started reading that one yet. That was recommended to me by another marketing professional at an architecture firm. She's also an associate principal of their firm back in Ohio. And so we've become great friends throughout our careers, and she was recommending that one to me. So I can give you a list of some of my business books that I've been having on the shelf.
We'd love to share those resources. So I've had the privilege of doing a little road trip with you in New York, and we had an opportunity to stop at some antique shops and just enjoy our time and take our time getting to the airport that day. As people bump into you in future opportunities at networking events or other industry events, and they know, oh, there's Chris, I'm going to go talk to him about X, Y, or Z that's not related to the industry, but related to you and your passions and your interests,
Yep.
what would be three of those things that you would talk to anybody about anytime, anywhere?
It's going to be more than three. Going to antique shops, flea markets, thrift stores, things like that. I absolutely love that, as you saw firsthand. My whiskey collection, and I like to, drink good whiskey with awesome people. And like, I'm going to be seeing my uncle who got me into it this weekend. So I'm looking forward to that. So anybody that likes a good bourbon can talk about that. Sports cards. My dad started collecting sports cards for us like when we were kids. So I still do that to today. When I was back home in Ohio, I actually went to a card show with a friend, and he was the principal at the very first firm that I worked at. And he's become like a mentor to me. We talk all the time. We text mostly about sports cards, sometimes work and our industry, but I have an extensive record collection, sneakers. Love Jordan shoes, grew up obviously being born in the mid 80s into the 90s. I love Michael Jordan. So I have a shoe collection. So my wife has 0 collections, and she hates that I have so many. So more than 3 things. I know you've asked, but you've talked about furniture too. I love like Herman Miller, mid-century furniture, obviously our industry. So, but yeah, there's a few things there that.
Excellent. Well, there gives me new things to talk about with you as well the next time we're face to face. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Chris. I really appreciate the conversation. You're one of those community members that I've met over the last year that I felt a genuine connection to, and I've always enjoyed our conversations and look forward to more in the future. So thanks for being here.
Likewise, Troy. Yeah, happy to do this, and I was thrilled that you asked me to participate. I think these conversations that you're having are really cool and just great for our industry, and getting to know other people in it. So thanks for having me be part of it.
Absolutely.